Hey everyone, I hope you're well. It's time for the new and improved Caustic guide. He's been given a little bit of love by Respawn recently, so I think it's time to show him some love on this channel too. I'll be covering everything there is to know about him, busting some myths and explaining how his abilities work very, very clearly. By the time you've watched this, not only will you know every last detail about Caustic, but you'll also know how to be a good Caustic player. So let's jump straight in. Timestamps will be in the description. First, his abilities. We all know what they are, but let's explain them more clearly and understand how exactly they work. Caustic's passive. You get an outline of enemies in your gas. You cannot see enemies on the other side of your gas, they must be in it. If they are hiding on the other side of the gas, you will not see them at all, so this is something to consider. Also, you can use the gas inside of smokes. For example, throwing your ultimate on top of a smoke that has players inside will highlight their outlines. Caustic's tactical. Place up to 6 gas traps. They have a cooldown to replenish. You can hold up to 3 at once. If an enemy player comes close, they explode, dealing damage over time and adding a blinding and slowing effect. Okay, but what if a player walks into 2 traps at once? Does the damage stack? Well, sort of. Let's bring out our subject. Come on now, don't be shy. So, as long as a player is in any form of gas, the damage will build up per tick over time, whilst the other trap stays at just 1 damage per tick. Here's a chart of how the damage works. As long as a player is in any enemy gas, the damage will continue. There's no cap damage, but eventually the gas trap will deplete. The gas deals pure health damage, so shields are left untouched. This means you need a total of 13 ticks of damage to down a player. You cannot damage other caustics. Likewise, you can walk through enemy caustics traps and remain unharmed and unslowed. With 2 traps, the time to kill is reduced a little. That extra 1 damage per tick from the other trap allows you to deal over 100 health a single 1 tick faster. But what about as many traps as possible? Yep, the damage stacks in the same way. Although the damage indicators are displayed a little differently, for some reason you still have 1 main damage tick that goes from 4 to 10 per tick, then caps at 10, but each individual gas trap does 1 damage each besides that, so you can actually do a total of 15 damage per tick. This will take just 9 ticks to kill a player. This Bangalore was already a bit damaged from earlier testing, so that's why she died sooner here. Also, let's say you have a chain of traps set up. If a player moves through them, the in-gas damage will still build up as normal, but the extra damage from other gas traps will stop and start depending on how many traps they are in the radius of. Finally, the ultimate. You can lob a canister that explodes into a large gas cloud, and by lob, I really mean lob. The gas cloud has the same effect as the tactical gas traps, but it covers a larger area. Once the ultimate is down, it stays for a total of 20 ticks, which means it can deal a total of 179 damage. This is enough to down a player and almost eliminate them, but not quite. For a quick fun fact, when you down a player, it misses a tick of damage. Also, for proof on the gas doing health damage, as you can see here, this Bangalore, test subject has level 1 armor, but she still dies after 100 pure health damage is dealt to her. Okay, so now that we have some details down about exactly how Caustic's abilities work, it's now time to put them to use. Here's the best way to use Caustic. I'll go into depth with each ability to offer the best tips. So first, the bread and butter of Caustic's kit, his gas traps. So firstly, there are 3 main purposes for Caustic's gas traps: to deal damage, to detect enemies, and for portable cover. So when you place down a trap, if it gets triggered by an enemy, you'll be notified. You'll see it go off on the map. So this can be a very good way to detect enemies, even if you're really far away. I find that the best way to use this as a detection tool is to hide the traps as well as possible. So hide them in corners, behind walls, or even in little cracks like this. In buildings like this, usually the trap won't work the way it usually does because it's too low down, but it will still trigger, so you'll know players are nearby even if it doesn't deal any damage. and in this case hardly anybody is ever going to spot it. Another good thing to do is to throw them in well-known spots that players are likely to walk. For example, stairs leading down into lower rooms. Make sure to put them just around the corner though, or players will spot them. The overall trick is to be thoughtful about placement so that you're always catching players by surprise. Okay, so what about damage? Well, first things first, it's generally a very bad idea to try and throw a trap down at a player in the middle of combat. It takes too long for you to throw it, for it to deploy, and then for it to trigger. During that time, you are left vulnerable for a short while, and it's generally just best to fight back with your guns. Now, it's a different story for the ultimate, but more on that later. One thing you can do though is throw a trap around a corner you're about to push, or just before you're about to make line of sight with an enemy. That way you have a bit of cover to play around and kind of force them to step back a little in case they are ready and waiting for you. Alternatively, you can try to bait out players. Say they're chasing you down, well, run into a building or a tight area and pack it with traps. But make sure they aren't spotted. If they're too out in the open, players will be unlikely to follow you unless they're completely stupid. Traps also work as great pieces of portable cover. Now, players can shoot the bottom to disable them, so it's best to place them down and then shoot them yourself to explode the gas. This way, the traps are invulnerable for a short time, and you can then peek in and out and also have a bit of a barrier in terms of players pushing too close to you. Another thing to think about is, although it can be great to place down traps in small corners and walkable areas to catch players off guard or to gather information, it's best to have as many traps ready to go as possible. Being able to set up a quick ambush of 3 traps is going to greatly increase your chance of downing a player as quickly as possible. So, in summary for the traps, be smart about placement so that players don't spot them. Hide them in typical healing spots, hotspots for walking, or in sneaky holes and corners that catch players off guard. Try to keep a nice stack ready for quick ambush moments. Bait players into traps by running behind cover when low and placing traps down. Use traps as cover in combat, but only throw them if the enemy doesn't have line of sight of you. Throwing in the middle of a fight is bad, and it will just make you vulnerable. 2 final things. You can throw them on Octane jump pads to get some crazy distance, and a good strategy if you have the opportunity is to throw a gas trap on high level armor. That way it's hidden and out of sight. Then if a player comes and activates the trap, you can grab the armor through the trap once your health is low. Okay, now for the ultimate. Now this is great for many different scenarios. I think it's one of the best third-party tools, and it can be used to quickly clean up squads fighting in a building, or sometimes to clean up squads just fighting out in the open. Remember, it does pure health damage, so if players are already bruised up from their own fight, it can be a great opportunity to use it. Out in the open, the gas can still be useful too, but keep in mind that players are able to run away from it fairly easily. This can be solved by combining an arc star with the gas. Throw down the gas on top of a player to slow them, then whilst they're slowed, it will be fairly easy to throw an arc star on them to stun them even further. This can stack up a ton of damage and can be an excellent way to quickly take down a bundle of players that may be sitting together. The ultimate is also a very powerful escape tool. You can treat it much like Bangalore's smoke. In fact, in some cases it does a better job at concealing you, and players are unlikely to push through it. So, need to heal your teammate, throw your ultimate down on top of you and them. Need to escape, throw it on the floor and run through it. If you do this though, try not to do it at the bottom of a slope, otherwise you'll just run upwards and be an easy target once you leave the gas. You can also throw it on yourself to quickly heal up in a corner in the middle of a fight, or in some cases even right out in the open. But once again, elevation is your biggest weakness here. Players will be able to see you very easily if they look down at you whilst you're in the gas. So I think that pretty much covers a lot about Caustic that you may be unaware of. Oh, of course he also has the Fortified perk that reduces damage by 10%, which helps to account for his larger than average hitbox. Caustic is in a very good place right now, and he is absolutely underrated. Yes, he's a bit more situational, but he's one of the only legends with true zoning potential. I now want to touch a little bit on team synergy and counters with Caustic. Firstly, the best Caustic counter is of course a Caustic. If you see a Caustic, push through their traps and catch them off guard. Besides that, Caustic doesn't really counter anybody else. Octane is sort of a soft counter to Caustic because his stim can reduce the slow effect, but it's not massive. For Synergies, Caustic can work well with Gibraltar if you place traps inside of Gibraltar's dome shield. Once again, very situational here, but there are instances where this works surprisingly well. Pair it with Gibraltar's ultimate for an insane endgame move. Players are forced to either stay inside the gas or escape outside into Gibraltar's ultimate. Throwing gas traps in a good timed smoke from Bangalore can be excellent too. And what about placing traps on the other side of a portal to surprise players that are likely to be chasing you? For people who like to think carefully about strategy and outplaying their enemies, Caustic is undoubtedly the best choice. I hope that this video has been informative and maybe you've learned a thing or two. Most importantly though, I hope this has inspired you to go and try Caustic because he's honestly a bit of fun right now. He's still not perfect though. If you're used to playing somebody like Wraith, Pathfinder or Octane, keep in mind he's big and he gets hit easier. So you'll have to get used to that and be smarter about engagements because players will hit you easier. On top of that, you must be careful about using Caustic around teammates. In many cases, your gas will cause more issues for your teammates by blinding them and slowing them too. They won't take damage, but it can lose them fights. So try to create situations where they aren't forced to walk past your gas traps in the middle of a fight if possible. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you want to watch Caustic in action, come by my stream sometime. I'm still aiming to get 50 wins with him this season. And what are your thoughts on Caustic after watching this video? Will you give him another chance? Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you in the comments. Cheerio!